Okay. So let me turn this down real quick. Okay, so I wanted to make this video. It's in a couple videos, so I'll probably just make one long video and then splice it up. But number one, I had a client recently, I want to say a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, just haven't had the time. This client reached out to me. Basically, he has been having another company work on his credit for at least about over a year now. I want to say a year and a few months. He told me that when he started with this company, he had like 20 negative items on his credit, and but he had been in the program for a year. His score wasn't really changing like he was hoping, so he was reaching out to us and wanted to see what we could do, because our program is a lot quicker and people are having a lot of getting results, basically. So I, no problem. Take a look at his credit, and basically he was telling me, the people that he was with was telling him that, he started off with 20. He was down to like supposedly 3 items on his credit, and just wanted to see, what was going on. Why was the scores not changing? So long story short, took a look at his credit, and he had 16 negative items on his credit, but they're telling him that he only had 3. So at first he was in disbelief, like to the point where, he was kind of like trying to argue me down. So, I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. This is just what's on your credit, and we can go over this together, right? So I think he was at work at the time, so he wanted to call me back when he got off work so we could go over it. So he calls me back. At this point, I'm ready. So I'm taking pictures of every single negative item and texting it over to him. And just going through it, and then at this point, now he sees like all these negative items, but the company that he was currently with is telling him that he only had 3 items on there. So then he reached out to them, just to kind of figure out what was going on. I don't know what they told him, but I guess he believed them, and then they told him that the 3 items that he had now was down to 1, and that now he could go ahead and try to get a vehicle, because that's what he was trying to get his credit back on track and clear it up for. So he goes to the car dealership and gets denied. So now he jumps back on the phone with me, trying to figure out, like, obviously he's being lied to and he needs our help. But long story short, if you have anyone working on your credit, you need to be monitoring your credit while they're working on it, because they could tell you anything, obviously, and have you believing that they're making progress when they're not, and they're just taking your money on a month-in, month-out basis. And the sad part is that he wanted to cancel out with them and jump into our program so he can really start getting help. But he reached out to him, and apparently they charged him or something, and he wasn't able to get his money back for that month, so he was going to have to wait a whole nother month. And basically they just taking his money. So long story short, make sure you're monitoring your credit, because people will tell you anything, right? So this is why in our program we give you all the login information so you can actually see what is going on and see the negative items getting removed, because seeing is believing. So definitely wanted to talk about that. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the mindset when it comes to fixing your credit, because I get it. We wasn't taught about credit, so no one really even understands. I'm not going to say no one, but most people don't understand how this goes. They just know they need their credit, and they need a certain number, and they think, a lot of people think it can happen overnight. And that's because a lot of people and companies will tell you, hey, in 30 days, we'll have you fixed up. In 90 days, we guarantee this and guarantee that. And then you see a lot of people who fall into situations where they get scammed, or not necessarily scammed, maybe just not happy because they're probably doing basic generic disputing. So I just want to give people the mindset that the understanding that fixing your credit takes time. When someone reaches out to the credit bureaus have 45 days to reach back out to you, right? Like, So if you reach out, that don't mean they have to reach back out to you that same day or that week. They literally have 45 days. That's a month and a half to reach back out to you. And a lot of times they'll reach back out to you and be like, no, this is validated, right? Which, if it's validated, they're supposed to send you proof, meaning a contract that has your name on it or a billing history that proves that you're responsible for this. They just can't send you a letter saying it's validated, it belongs on your credit. And they do that a lot of times, and because people don't know any better, they just believe it and be like, oh, I tried. So overall, the mindset, this takes time, right? If we reach out to them and then a month and a half they say it's validated, and then we reach out to them and ask them to prove it, and then 45 days later, you know, they send some other BS letter, which they do all the time. It takes time. That's why we're saying within 6 months, you should see something. At this point, you've reached out to them for half a year, right? A lot of times it does happen sooner, right? But for the majority, it takes time. Do we have situations where people credit, things fall off within 30 days? Yes, 30, 60, 90 days. It happens all the time. But for the majority, it's usually within that 3 to 6 month time frame that you see stuff really start coming off, because you're staying on the credit bureaus. This is why a lot of people can't do this on their own, because of how long it takes. When you're trying to fix your credit along with trying to work, take care of kids and families and other bills and stuff, you know, you can get caught up and forget, and they replied in 45 days, but you haven't had a chance because you've been doing stuff, and now you're 2-3 weeks. So this is why people hire people, because this is a long process. But people really need to understand that this is a process. This is not an overnight situation where this week you join and then 2-3 weeks later you're in the 700s. It don't work like that. Okay, so I just need people to understand that, because they be wanting their credit fixed, and they'll call and, yeah, I want to get a house next month and I got 15 items on my credit. Can y'all get it removed? I mean, there's a possibility, but realistically, it might take longer than that, and want to be upfront about that, because I don't want you to. We're never going to sit here and tell you that, oh yeah, in 30 days, yeah, we'll get all that removed. We're never going to do that. Never. 6 months or less. Does some things take longer than 6 months? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it does. Now, should it take a year or two? No, it shouldn't take that long. At that point, either it's valid and you owe them, and then you need to do have a debt settlement team where they're calling on your behalf to settle the debt right now, not letting it fall into collections and getting late payments where it's like, hey, this is the situation. Before it goes into collections, this is what this person can do, and we're going to get you to sign a pay to delete letter so that we have proof. Because a lot of times they'll say, yeah, we'll delete it, and if you don't get it in writing and you pay them, you'll never hear from them again, and they won't take it off your credit. So you need it in writing, and that's what our team does. If it comes down to that, we get it in writing, so that way if they don't take it off, we can go to the credit bureaus and say, hey, our client paid this off. They gave us a letter saying that they was going to take it off. They haven't taken it off. We need it removed right now. Okay? So I just wanted to jump on here real quick. It's Memorial Day. I got some time while we are waiting for some food. So I just want to make this video real quick just to share that stuff with you guys. Again, I'm going to try to do better at making more videos and educating y'all on credit and the mindset and frame and what to expect and whatnot, because I know it's not taught and a lot of people have no clue. They just want help, and that's what we're trying to do. Okay? Talk to y'all later.